Hey guys, Scott Slar here with Vyral Marketing. Welcome to our database hangout. I'm real excited today about our guest, Mr. Jeff Cohn here, one of our longtime clients here at Vyral and an expert in database marketing. Thanks for being here, Jeff. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Scott. I appreciate being here.
So Jeff, a little background on Jeff. He's hopefully going to be the #1 agent here this year in Omaha. He's projecting to do over 400 deals with his team of 30 employees, which is huge. It's going to be the biggest number that has ever been done in Nebraska if he hits that mark, and he's projecting to hit it. So that's really, really exciting for him. He's grown this team in only 3 years. He's been in real estate for about 8 years now and just doing amazing things there in Omaha. And yeah, Jeff, again, thanks for being on, man. Thanks for working with us, and I'm excited for this call. So today, guys, we're going to be going over kind of Jeff's story on working with Vyral, what he was doing before and now, and how he's being really successful, and then his whole process on, you know, mining his database and marketing to it and calling it, and the things that he's doing to generate emails, and what's really working, so you can, you know, take his strategies and maybe implement them and, you know, restructure what you're doing, whether you're working with Vyral or not, but what you're doing with your database. So that's what we're going to go through today. So stay tuned. Please answer any questions that you have. There's a Q&A box. I have it. I'm going to see it on the screen, and we'll try to get to the questions as soon as they come through. So,
Thank
Jeff.
You, That's
yeah, man.
Great introduction, man. You're a rock star. Hey, one of the things I want to let all the listeners know is Vyral Marketing has a really wonderful culture, and one of the things that keeps us interested in staying on with you guys not only is the insane ROI. I think in that invite email you guys sent out, you shared with the crew my quote, which was over 1,000% ROI. In addition to that is all the sharing. So I do want to reiterate what you just said. If anyone has questions, I love answering really detailed questions. You can be specific with analytics, any type of a question you want to bring to us today. Everyone else probably has the same question, so feel free, like Scott said, post it on the side, and we'll be sure to hit as many questions as we can.
Awesome. Yeah, Jeff. So first thing I want to ask you is, you know, tell me about when you first started with Vyral and what you were doing and what you were doing with your database, and kind of how that, you know, progression and what type of results you're seeing then, and then we're going to kind of work through that and what you're doing now, okay?
Yeah, you know, like a lot of people, we were generating leads, you know, and we didn't know if it was a lot of leads at the time. I think when we joined up with you guys, we were probably generating around 200 or 300 leads a month. That consisted of internet leads that, you know, we were generating through pay-per-click and search engine optimization, as well as leads that were coming from open houses and, you know, prospecting calls and networking groups people were going to, and we were putting all of this data together. And we really weren't giving those lead sources and all that data any attention outside of maybe a few calls every so often. And so that's where we found Vyral Marketing to be such a great fit. And so right from the beginning, we followed best practices in terms of how often we sent content to our lead database. We were sure to get a video out at least every month, and we weren't always good at that. Obviously, our goal was to get a video out twice a month.
Right. So what, you know, if you can even think then when you first started, I know it's been a while, but what results were you seeing, you know, here and there? I mean, with the consistency kind of sporadic, I mean, what were you seeing from those videos?
You know, I guess the question is better posed maybe at what was my expectation in terms of results.
Yeah, well, that's a good question.
Everybody has different expectations of what they're getting from the system. What we wanted from Vyral was leads from our database of people that we couldn't get in touch with by making phone calls. And we thought in the beginning that if we sent a video to a database of, I think we had about 15,000 to start with. To date, we're at over 40,000, but we had about 15,000 people, and I assumed every time I sent this amazing video full of quality that I was going to have like 100 people calling and emailing and texting, excited and ready to have an in-home listing presentation brought to them by your one and only Jeff Cohn, Omaha's Elite Real Estate Group.
Well, I'm sure Frank talked it up big time like that too. I mean, don't get me wrong. I mean,
you know he did. But you know what? I didn't get too concerned with that from the beginning. I knew it was going to be something that was going to take some time. We need to get used to the video. I mean, when we go back and look at our first videos we shot, I mean, you see, I don't know if you know this, I have light on me right now. So look at the difference there. That was a recommendation that you guys had made. Just a little simple thing to add the extra light so there's not a shadow. using a higher definition webcam, using a mic, a higher quality mic if needed. We've even shot in front of blue screen. We've done a lot of really cool stuff. So bringing a better product over time has gotten us better results. But like you asked in the beginning, I expected all these people to be funneling in, and we did not see that. We could see there was a lot of activity going on. People were clicking on the call to action buttons. A lot of these people had already been registered within our CRM, so it wasn't us generating new opportunity, but we were seeing that our current leads were interacting on our site, which is a positive, but they weren't reaching out to us like we thought they might using your system.
So tell me what changed. Tell me about the story of what what happened and what changed and how you almost left Vyral because you weren't seeing results.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know that we would have ever left. Frank's email was a little bit intense with that whole story, but we are privileged to have Vyral Marketing's hub in Omaha, Nebraska. And I actually knew exactly where it was. So one day, me and my operations manager, for fun, decided to ambush their office, and obviously all in good fun, giving them a little bit of a hard time that we hadn't generated as many leads as Vyral had promised to us. And John McMillan was right on par, and Dan, and they asked us how many times we'd been calling the people that had clicked on the call to action button. And my operations manager, Kevin McGowan, and myself looked at each other, and it was pretty much crickets. We knew we hadn't been calling, but we didn't want to make the calls. I didn't want to make the call. I was too busy managing a real estate team. And Kevin didn't want to make a call. He's too busy managing all his stuff. And so right there, John and Dan challenged us the next 30 days to actually call the people that clicked on the call to action button. And they said we were going to have success. They said we would be successful by doing it. And so I said, okay, we'll accept the challenge. But I didn't want to make the call, Scott.
Yeah, well, I mean, why would you? Who wants to prospect, right? That's what you hire someone for. I don't want to prospect either. I have my assistant Scott, who's amazing at it, calling.
That's right.
So what did you do? Tell me what happened that 30 days.
So we had virtual assistants at the time. We just simply weren't using them to the full extent that they could have been used. And so I started sending them the databases. And I actually today or 2 days ago I got a report from Vyral Marketing. So for those that are on here that haven't gotten a report recently, it's just going to look similar to this. It's just Excel, essentially an Excel spreadsheet or a PDF that you guys send, and it shows who's clicked on it, who the person was, all their contact information. I was too overwhelmed with what the dialogue needed to be on the call. I forgot that it could be as simple as, hi, this is so-and-so. I'm calling on behalf of Omaha's Elite Real Estate Group, just touching base to thank you for following us on our email blog. And I wanted to ask real quick, who do you know right now considering buying or selling a house? And with that simple script, we were averaging 10 leads a month off of our database management.
Great. So you went from 0 to 10 solid leads that were either buyers or sellers with that.
Yes, sir. And Frank wanted the stat for the call. I look back over the last 12 months, we've averaged 2 closings a month, 2 to 3 closings a month off of those calls over this year, to date this year. And so out of those 10 leads, we were actually converting about 20% of them.
Got it. So you're gonna close somewhere between 24 to 36 deals over the year just from Vyral Marketing.
Yes, sir.
Excellent. That is what I like to hear, Jeff. So
yeah, it's pretty amazing.
I love the turnaround. So let's back up, because I know people are like, well, it's great that you have 40,000 emails, but how do you get 40,000 emails, and how do you, what do you do to to stay in touch up front? Yeah. Obviously, you're doing Vyral in between, but let's kind of go through getting the emails and then what you're doing.
So the way our team is set up is when someone adds a lead to our database, that lead is attached to that agent for life while they're on the team. So any sale that person would ever have with that individual client, the agent that registered them gets the credit, right? Well, everyone on the team started talking about how they could have everyone in Omaha. The Omaha metro area has 1 million people. And so people joked that they were going to start buying databases from outside sources like InfoUSA and upload them into our CRM so that they could take the credit on all those individuals, which obviously we weren't going to allow people to go about it that way. However, we did start a huge push, Scott, in having call days or call nights. And our team every week spends 2 hours as a group making prospecting calls. Well, we saw a big disconnect in those prospecting calls in that when people said no or said yes to whatever value add we were bringing to that call, we weren't gathering email addresses or a secondary email address. And so when we started doing cold calling to just listed, just sold, expired, for sale by owner, or we were going to networking events or tips groups or church groups or Little League, we started asking everyone for email addresses. Well, why would they give us the email address? What's the value add? Most of these people own houses, and they want to keep tabs on most people's most important investment, which is their house. So free of charge, if they would give us their email address, we'd set them up on an automatic email every time someone in their neighborhood lists a house. We'll send them an email and let them keep tabs on their neighbors, which everyone likes to be a nosy neighbor, and more importantly, keep tabs on their investment. And it's a no-brainer. Everyone accepts it. It's an easy way for them to get off the line. We changed the thought process of generating leads to convert for commission today and changed the thought process to planting seeds to convert for commissions in the future. We don't care when that is. All we care is that it is. In addition, we now can reach out to those people outside of the leads that we're sending to them or the listing updates that we're sending to them, and we can ask them for referrals. So they're all on our Vyral Marketing database. We have over 40,000 people right now. In about a year from now, we expect it to be up to about 100,000.
Wow, that's amazing, and that's a really good piece of information, everyone that's listening right now, on changing your perspective from now, I want a commission, I want a deal, to if I nurture this and add this email and add value, that will eventually convert down the road, right? So it's thinking big picture, which is amazing, Jeff. Way to do that, man. That's awesome. So you've built this database now. What content are you sending to it? Now, you just mentioned some. What else are you doing, or do you have segmented lists? Like, tell me a little bit more about what you're sending to the database.
Absolutely. So, of course, with most CRMs, there's drip campaigns. So depending on what category our leads are in, they're going to get a chain of emails that we've pre-written. All of those will have the signature of the agent that lead's attached to. Also, when we call, there's always a value add, a reason we're calling. It's not just to ask for leads. It's to offer them the free market analysis, or let them know we have a moving truck, or let them know right now we're raising money for the Toys for Tots program in our local market, and we'll talk to them a little bit about that. So there's always something that we're doing. We'll ask them to be a part of it, so it doesn't feel like we're just greasy salespeople, because we're not. It's way more about, living a life full of value and helping our customers live a life full of value as well. What else was the question on that? I lost track for a minute.
I lost track too. Things that you're other things that you're sending to the database. So, and then I have a question for you from Darren James.
Okay.
We're done with that.
Yep. So in addition to the drip content, my agents are individually. A lot of times they're sending text messages, Facebook messages. They're sending custom emails that they've written, and then we're using our virtual assistants. We have 3 full-time virtual assistants through 1000callsaday.com. Those VAs are provided by my Outdesk for Daniel Ramsey, and then 1000 Calls is training those people. And so essentially what that is whenever our leads are called, those leads have a relationship with the person we're calling on behalf of. So what I'm trying to say is, like, Scott, let's pretend like you're the agent I represent and I'm the virtual assistant. When I call John Doe, the guy that was registered under you, I'm always going to say, hi, this is Jeff, the assistant to Scott Solari, and everybody in your database knows you. They've been getting a ton of content from you. So I'm always going to be referencing you, and then that virtual assistant's going to give a value add to that individual, and then most importantly at the end of that call, he's going to ask, or she's going to ask, do you know anyone right now considering buying or selling a house, or who do you know right now considering buying or selling a house? And we're doing this daily. This isn't just to follow up with the lists you give to us. We're generating around 30 highlighted leads every day, with each virtual assistant generating 10 leads a day to my team.
Excellent. So I'm going to ask you Darren's question. He says, what's the fastest way to get a lead into Vyral's database, or into the database that we're hosting for you? So if you're out in the field,
Guys, what we've chosen to do, and everyone's going to set this up different, and I would recommend you talk to your success manager within Vyral and see how they want you to do it. What's worked best for us is to put all that information in. When I'm out in the field, I can just add it from my smartphone really quickly. I use the Boomtown system right now. I think most CRMs are going to allow you to do it from your cell phone. Get that email address, get that contact information, get it added into the back end of your CRM. At that point, we'd get the drip started. Every 2 weeks before our mass email goes out to 40,000 people, we're going to update our database with Vyral so that they have all of the most up-to-date and current information. Also, if someone's opted out from my website, or they've received an email from me through Vyral and they've opted out, then we're going to take those out as well because we don't want to be offending people. As far as content we send, I don't know if I've addressed that, Scott. What we chose to do starting this year is we do a market update video. It goes out every 30 days. If anyone listening is curious, to go check it out, just go to our website, omahaselite.com. Omaha's plural, omahaselite.com. On the top, there's a little link. Click on blog, and it'll take you to those videos. The second video we send out is called Around Omaha, where we're just talking about different activities or different events that are going on in the Omaha area. Both are getting followed extremely well. We've been very impressed with the results that we've been getting from both of those videos. People like watching them, and you guys do a great job, as you know, Scott, writing, doing really nice copy that goes along with the video with very fancy call to action buttons and things that keep people's interest. So thank you again to Vyral for your guys' efforts there.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that you're doing one real estate and then one non-real estate, because I think that's really good for your database. And I try to coach a lot of our clients, or when I've talked to them on the front end, I tell them, you really got to mix up the content. People don't want to hear about real estate all the time, but they want to see you all the time. So that's the key, is that top of mind awareness. So that's cool that you're doing that. That's awesome.
The other thing I would add is don't just let that video go to viral. We post that video everywhere. I mean, it goes on our Facebook page, Twitter. It goes everywhere that we can put it that we think that's going to add value. We house them all on our YouTube channel, and so we let clients see a lot of those videos. I mean, all of our, a lot of people that haven't yet registered in our database, there's a lot of value to those market update videos. So my agents, when new leads come in, they'll shoot them a link to the video and say, hey, you want to know what's going on in the market right now? Here's a video of our team leader talking about the current market, and it helps us to establish ourselves as a leader in the industry.
Excellent. So talk a little bit more about your back-end systems. So Darren was asking again, so you're using Boomtown. What else are you using, and where are your drips? Are they coming through Boomtown, or are they coming through other systems?
Yeah,
what's that look like?
No, before we used Boomtown, it was the fall of 2011, and we were trying to decide which CRM we wanted to invest in and we wanted to make into how we housed everything. And we were using Excel spreadsheets, and I know a lot of guys used Top Producer at the time, and we chose to adopt the Boomtown system. It works best for what we're doing. I've got 15 full-time agents and 7 part-time agents, and we'd like to grow as big as we can go. And so we've really enjoyed the Boomtown system because it does deliver a lot of extra tools to help you stay in contact with your database, like the drip campaigns. It has automatic emails based on the buyer's first interaction on the site, or seller's first interaction on the site.
And you can have, I think a lot of people think like Boomtown's just a buyer lead site, but you can have any type of lead in there, any drip campaign. It doesn't matter, right?
Yep. So like we have people that will go out and they'll do like a wedding show for someone getting ready to get married or whatever, and they'll get 1,000 leads. They'll dump those into Boomtown. It's just a CRM. It's just a tool. It doesn't limit you to just the leads that are generated through Boomtown. It's a CRM that can carry all of your leads. You could bring in a database of 10,000 people. You can export all the data. We export it every day, and we mojo dial to it. It's worked really, really well for us.
And then also with that is like when you're getting leads from other places, right? You can sync it up. Is that correct? I'm not really sure. Like if you get Zillow leads or
depending on the lead source, they've gone in and they've made sure there's code behind a lot of the different lead sources that are coming in. So like your Zillow lead that comes in, or if you're on Sierra Interactive, there's a lot of these different sites where if a lead would come into you, normally you would have gotten emailed the lead and have to manually import it every time. They've taken care of that for a lot of different lead sources so that when those leads come to you via email, they have code that captures that information and it automatically puts it into your Boomtown for you. The other thing is it's all automated, so your drip campaigns, your automatic listing updates, and everything else is activated the moment that lead comes in based on the interaction they have on the site. So you don't have to be worried if you're a team leader. I like to rest assured at night that the lead's getting treated the way it needs to be treated based on the parameters I've set to make sure it's set up the way it needs to be.
Right, so how it's like tagged or the lead source it came from, whatever dictates
That's
what campaign it drips up on. Yep.
Yeah, you can even see the last time your agent makes a prospecting call, the last time, if the lead emails the flyer to their grandma, it's going to tell you. If the lead looks at the listing from a second geographical location, it's going to tell you. You know when they register, what city they're in. You can track all sorts of interaction on the back end. And this isn't a campaign for Boomtown, but
but this is your system that works really well for you. So this is why we're talking about it. Sure. Now, another answer for you, Darren, is if you're on the road, man, you just get one lead. Like just email it with the phone number and the name to your coach, and literally it takes us 3 seconds to put it into the database. But you don't want to just do that because you want to make sure it goes into whatever CRM you're using too. So that'll be a combination thing. And then Tara Limbard asked Jeff, when you're doing the dialing and the calling, are you guys leaving voicemails or are you just moving on?
Oh, that's a great question. You know, It depends on what list you're calling. We found that dropping a voicemail, we use the Mojo dialer, which allows you to dial from 3 different lines at the same time. If you drop voicemails, you're not going to be able to call as many people. So you're going to find you're only going to be occupying 2 lines while the 3rd line's dropping the voicemail, or you could have all 3 lines at the same time dropping a voicemail. I personally like the voicemail. The way that we use it through 1000callsaday.com, they have it set up where all of the virtual assistants, when they go to prospect for on behalf of Scott, they're going to log in as if they're Scott. So they're going to call the leads with Scott's cell phone number through the back end of Mojo, and Scott will have created pre-recorded voicemails for every lead category. So let's pretend like it's an archive lead you haven't gotten a hold of in 3 years. Scott's going to pre-record a voicemail saying, hey, it's Scott. It's been a long time since we connected. Just wondering if you're still in the market to buy or sell a house. Give me a call back when you get a minute, 555-5555. If they're cold calling neighborhoods, it's going to say, hey, it's Scott Solari. I'm the real estate expert for ABC Subdivision. I'm calling all homeowners in your area tonight to let them know the market's going crazy. We've increased by 7%, and homes are selling in less than 30 days. I want to talk more specifically about your home because I have some buyers that I think would be a great fit for it. If you are in the market to sell, if I could get you above market, would you be interested in talking to me? Give me a call back at 55555. So imagine you have a person calling on your behalf, dropping custom voicemails that are unique to the type of call they're making. You can make 1,000 calls in a day. That's the whole 1,000 call premises. They dial 1,000 people a day, Scott. They leave over 150 of your voicemails every single day in an 8-hour shift. They're highlighting over 10 people a day with these calls. They're finding opportunities, setting phone appointments for you. The best of it that we don't even rarely even talked about is your phone will blow up all day long with people calling you back. Because a lot of people, even if you leave a voicemail, they just see missed call and they hit redial. So I was out riding 4-wheelers. I actually ride dirt bikes. My dad was on a 4-wheeler, and he didn't know the virtual assistant was calling for him. This is about 2 weeks ago. His phone rang like 7 times in a row, and he kept ignoring. I said, what's going on? He goes, I don't know. And then right there it clicked. I thought, is the virtual assistant calling for you today? And sure enough, he calls up, and they had switched the day around, and they were calling on his behalf. But in like 7 minutes, I think he had a call every minute, because they're touching so many people using that Mojo dialer. So it's a phenomenal process, and we've been really happy with it. So I hope that addresses that question.
Yeah, it definitely did. So guys, keep asking questions if you got them. We kind of got off a little bit, but we were talking about what you were doing, your back end with Boomtown. You know what the things that you're sending, the different campaigns you have for every lead, the voicemail drops, which is awesome. One of the big things that I hear from different people is you have these VAs calling for you, right, and handing over leads. How do you keep your agents accountable to actually follow up and call those leads and get that appointment?
That's a great question, Scott, and this is something I want to address with the whole real estate community. I've found that accountability, when someone has skin in the game, is really the solution to problems like this. So too often we give leads without the agent paying at all for that lead, or we provide a virtual assistant without the agent paying at all for that virtual assistant. Or I flip houses as well on the side. All of my general contractors have skin in the game on the flip, and I know they're going to provide that much better of a product to me and to keep the cost low when they have skin in the game. So what we did is we proved to our team that the virtual assistant was valuable. I provided a virtual assistant solution to everyone on my team for about a year, and then I was only providing that virtual assistant on their day. So we have it set up where there's a 15-day rotation. Every 15th day our agents get all the leads that come in a 24-hour period. And they got the virtual assistant on that day. But outside of that day, they didn't get one. And so we just released recently a virtual assistant program where each agent could have a VA for 1 day a week. And when you break down the numbers, it ends up being about $500 or $600 a month per agent, and they can have a full-time virtual assistant every day. What we found is when they're paying for it and they get highlighted leads, they're giving way more effort to converting those highlighted leads into sales because the money's coming out of their pocket and not the business they're working for's pocket. And so I've really liked them taking ownership of it. It feels better. The whole process feels better. And one of the things that's really neat is they get compensated better if the lead is generated by them. Well, when those virtual assistants are making cold calls, because there's two different types of calls they're making. One is to their current database. The other is expired, for sale by owner, just listed, just sold. When they generate leads out of those databases, that's their sphere because they're paying for the virtual assistant. Whereas if I'm paying for it, then it's just like any other lead I'd funnel to my team, and they're going to get less of a split.
Right. Awesome. So Tara has another quick question about sending the viral emails to leads that you've never been able to make contact with. So cold leads.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. You want to send that viral video to everyone and anyone, every email address you've got. I know, and Scott, maybe you could speak to this. There's some type of an algorithm. You guys don't want a lot of those emails bouncing back. You don't want a lot of people clicking spam. So we don't want to buy lists of like, I looked into buying like a list of 1 million email addresses. I don't think that's the approach. It needs people that have touched us in some way. They know that we exist. They know who we are. That's going to give us a better chance to convert. But like I said, our goal is to go out, capture as many email addresses, names, phone numbers as possible, get them into our database, and provide value to them. We want the community not to look at us as just a one-stop shop. We want to, have our team be a part of their lives, and more so than just the real estate transaction. So, there's statistics out there that say people only buy or sell a house every 11 years, but they have the opportunity to refer around 7 people a year to an agent that they trust. I want the referrals from people that are a part of our circle. That matters a lot more to me than them working with our team. And so when you start sending people content, think about the value add. Is it giving that person the feeling that you care about them and their success and their happiness, or is it about you getting more business? Because if they think, and this should be the case, so you're not trying to trick someone, but if they find out and come to the realization that you're just there to help and be the real estate expert in that area, people are going to trust you more, and you're going to get a lot more business that way.
Absolutely, and that's what I tell a lot of people too, Jeff, is that when you're sending such good quality content, you're going to be more willing to forward that to someone that may be interested in buying or selling. So I think about like how many emails do I get in my inbox a day that I would actually forward to a friend of mine that I knew would interest him. And that's the key that you got to be thinking about when you're sending out that content. And the other thing, Tara, I'd say is, if they've come to a buyer site or whatever type of lead that is, I would suggest sending something first before they're getting your educational emails, maybe an introduction video email introducing yourself. You can work with your coach to do that. So whether it's a buyer lead, expired, FSBO, whatever type of lead it is, maybe having something or having an initial campaign that goes to them, and then they go into your bi-weekly database. So they've seen you already, and it's not a blind side.
Scott, let me add one more thing. This was pretty fun. I was doing a recruiting email last week. We're looking to add about 15 more agents before the end of this year, so that we're a 30-agent team going into 2015. We have the leads and the infrastructure to support that type of increase in agents. It's a 100% increase, so we're pretty excited about it. So I posted on my Facebook page. I was laying in bed. It was literally like 1 in the morning, and I was in the mood, so I put it together, and I posted, I did the promotion button. I don't know if you've seen that before, but when you put a post out there on Facebook, you can
boost
a post. Yep, the boost.
Yeah.
Yep. And so I boosted it. I spent like $100 or something like that, but it went from going to, I think I have like 1,500 friends to 10,000 people, and it was awesome to see all the reporting behind the boost. So a point I wanted to make as a follow-up to that, because I wanted everyone to know that boost is an option. I thought that was pretty awesome. A point I wanted to make, though, in addition to that, was when you think about content, I used to always post on Facebook, I just sold one, I just sold one, I just sold one. Well, people don't care about that. Like, that's great, and maybe the family who you sold a home with and their friends would be pretty excited about it, but it comes across wrong, especially as you become more and more successful. In the beginning, it's kind of a pat on the back. Oh, good job, I'm so happy for Scott. When you're selling 500 houses a year, that kind of turns people the wrong way. So you can watch, if you do a post that says, if you know someone thinking about buying or selling a house, refer them my way, you can see, the results of that, see how many people like it, how many people share it. Then do a post that says, are you curious about what your house is worth? Go check out this website. It'll give you your home value, and see what the result is off of that. And you're going to find 9 times out of 10, people are going to go nuts over something that's value add to them.
Right. And maybe a value add that has nothing to do with real estate could be cool too, right?
Yeah.
I mean, if they know that every time they go to your page that all they're getting is real estate stuff, it's going to be like selective. But then if you add value in other ways and are sending more information, staying top of mind in other ways, that's going to be a better value add as well. And then so Darren's asking a little bit more about your VA process. So let's talk about that a little bit. He asked, what leads are they calling? And they're calling every lead you have pretty much, right? I mean.
Yeah, they are. So essentially what happened, Darren, I woke up one morning, it was January 1st, man, call it, I think it was 2013, and this was the last year I chose to sell real estate. I actually retired from the selling part of working in the business, started working on my business a little bit more last year. But one of the things that really paid off was hiring a virtual assistant. Stop trying to do it on my own. Try to stop expecting the agents to make all of the calls. We still expect them to make a certain amount of calls. To be on my team, you have to make 100 prospecting calls a week. With a dialer, that takes an hour. If you're hand dialing, it takes 3 hours. But we want agents to be in the game and to take ownership of that lead gen. But we had so many leads in our databases. Each of my agents has literally 3,000 or 4,000 leads. We needed to stay on top of them. And people always wonder, why do you need to call these leads so often? Well, anyone that buys, sells, or refers to us should be called every quarter, and we should be thanking them for working with us and asking them if there's anything we can do for them and asking for referrals. Anyone that hasn't bought, sold, referred, died, or told us to go to hell should be getting a phone call from us so that we try to create an opportunity to find an interested buyer or an interested seller. Anyone that has a phone number attached to them should be getting a call. And I joke with my agents as I train them. People will register sometimes with a cuss word or shoot myself or whatever they want to say. I always make that call fun, and I just ask for shoot myself, or I ask I ask for the inappropriate name they posted because they kind of deserve it, and it's a good way to get into the call. The only negative is sometimes the phone number attached isn't their phone number, so you might throw someone for a loop. So be careful with that process. So, I wake up one morning and I think, what's the solution? I have 40,000 people in this database. I've got great agents that are busy working with people, but what if I wanted everyone called in that database every 2 weeks, every 4 weeks, every 3 months? How can I make that a reality? And I started having this vision of 1000callsaday.com, and it was a business that we launched about 4 or 5 months ago. I work as the lead consultant with that business, and one of the solution essentially is we take current virtual assistants or new virtual assistants, and we hold them accountable, Scott. We teach them how to make the calls. We implement best practices. We have a beginning of day report that they send out to us and our clients, and we have an end of day report. We have a team huddle every day. Agents can do all these activities on their own, but I use the analogy of taking pictures. If you're a listing agent and you're going out and taking the pictures on your own, you could save yourself a lot of time and money by hiring someone else to do the pictures for you. It's the same thing with a prospector. There's no reason a rainmaker should be making all of the prospecting calls. They always should be making calls, but not all of the prospecting calls.
But warm calls. You should be making warm calls.
Absolutely. Yeah. They're making the follow-up calls. They're making the calls to their past clients and people that refer business to them and what I call my golden clients, but they're not calling a lead that's been in archive for 4 years. And they're not cold calling a neighborhood, and they're not calling expireds and FSBOs. You should outsource those activities. So essentially, we created this company. You can go to the website. It's 1000callsaday.com. It's our blog. If you want to talk more about it, the goal of this call also wasn't to pitch 1,000 calls a day, but if you want to talk to me more about it, there's actually a little calendar link like Scott has at the bottom of his signature, and you can schedule a time any Monday or Thursday afternoon, and I can talk a little bit more about the program. A lot of people are joining up right now and getting grandfathered into the current cost that we're charging the market to be a part of the program, but ROI on that's insane because what we found is if you can close one deal every quarter, you're making money with our system. And we're averaging 1,000 calls every day and highlighting over 10 leads every single day for the agents that are currently on the program. We've got over 10 agents right now across the country that are using us.
That's awesome. So what type of return is that overall then, big picture?
I mean, it gets pretty ridiculous. Yeah.
All right. So
really great results.
So I love that you mentioned that you shouldn't be calling these random archived prospecting calls. That is not money making for a lead agent who's running a business. So tell me a little bit more about the system and like the reporting and what's being used to really track everything that's happening with these VAs that are calling.
All right. Yeah, so within the 1000callsaday.com program, we have a personalized virtual assistant that's full-time just for you. You can expect them to deliver 8 hours a day, 5 days a week. Currently, we're running the program Wednesday through Sunday. A shift would typically start around 8 or 9 a.m. Depending on your market, we'll make sure it works for your area, and then end around 6 or 7 p.m. at night. They usually take a 1-hour break. The beginning of the shift, your virtual assistant would just send you an email that it's a beginning of day report letting you know what project they're going to work on that day, and it's entirely up to the client to dictate what they want them to be doing. So if I want my guy today to call expire, tomorrow's FSBO, the next day is just listed for this house on ABC Jefferson Street, the next day is all my past clients to remind them we have a moving truck, you can outline their schedule. If you aren't as specific with us, we know the best practices, so we'll implement what we know works best, and so you'll work in correlation with us and your success manager at 1,000 Calls to make the program as successful as possible for your team size, your team structure, and essentially what you're expecting to get out of the 1,000 Call program. Scott, let me mention one other thing before I forget it. There's really 3 pillars to my personal business in Omaha, and like Scott mentioned in the beginning of this webinar, we're going to do over 400 transactions this year, putting us at the #1 team in Omaha and breaking an all-time record for the entire state of Nebraska in overall unit sales for a real estate team. What has helped us to get to this spot is the assembly line real estate mentality that was, I think, pretty much thought up and shared by Gary Keller originally, now implemented by a lot of top teams across the country. 2 other positions I want to speak to today because I feel like it would be a disservice to the realtor community to not mention them. In addition to a virtual assistant, which every agent should have if you're a top agent or not, you should have someone assisting you in your calls. In addition to that, you should have a full-time showing assistant. I cannot believe how many agents are still opening doors for buyers. What a showing assistant is you set up your client when you first meet with them. You let them know you're going to be available every day, any hour, day or night, to show them a house. If you personally aren't available, you have someone that works for you full-time that is designated to literally just open doors, provide them with information, get them a bottle of water, and serve the client, which is what they expect. They don't expect the buyer's agent to always be that person. So if you can find someone in your market that might not want to work with buyers but just is happy to open the doors for $10 an hour or $20 an hour or $5 a house, it will extremely allow your your buyers to leverage their time, which is their most valuable asset, so that they can be meeting with more and more people at the office and not out opening doors, which is such a low income producing activity.
Right.
In addition,
yeah, so I mean, how many more deals can a buyer work with, Jeff? Have you seen from
3 times as many? When agents join my team, they come from other real estate brokerages, and they're averaging 10 to 11 deals a year. That's our overall average in Omaha, and I think that's probably close to a national average. All of the agents on my team this year have been over 30 transactions. So using this assembly line real estate philosophy with the 3 pillars has really allowed these guys to increase their sales by 300%. So in addition to the virtual assistant and the showing assistant, the last role is going to be, and everyone's heard it, a transaction coordinator. There is no reason an agent who is worth $500 an hour or $1,000 an hour should ever touch paperwork ever again the rest of their life. There should be someone they hire at a salary or an hourly rate that touches all the paperwork for them. There should be someone that's setting up, all their appointments for them, that's setting up the signs, coordinating the signs and lock boxes, and if there's a stager involved, and pictures, and making sure the listing goes live. Once you execute a contract, someone that fills out the input sheets and watches that file all the way to close. So I'm on coaching calls all the time, Scott, and I've told every agent I know that the fastest they can, the first hire is the transaction coordinator, the second hire being a virtual assistant, and the third hire being the showing assistant. And in the beginning, your transaction coordinator, if you hire the right person, can do all 3 roles. But you want to work as fast as you can to getting 3 people on board that are full-time, and then you'll see yourself go from your 40 deals a year or your 20 deals a year, wherever you are, you'll triple your business, and you'll find that as you add more virtual assistants, more transaction coordinators, and more, what's the other role I'm losing right now? Virtual transaction coordinators, showing assistants, you're going to be able to sell that many more houses. And so we did this very thing. We have seen 25% increase in our business over the last 3 years. And the last piece to that is adding buyer's agents and listing agents if you want to remove yourself from the equation and work on the business versus working in the business, which is what I did last year, which is really hard to do. I sold 100 houses in 2013, which was a total adjusted gross income of over $325,000. And I quit that job, Scott, this year, because I believe that by placing myself in more of a management and leadership role, we would be able to see better returns. My agents would have more success, which obviously in return would provide me with more success.
Excellent. That's amazing, man. And I know like that when I speak to tons of different agents, that's one of their major goals or like business goals, and they feel like it's so far away, Jeff, that it's like years away. How can I ever get there where I can build a business that big and step out of it and still make good money? So what was the big like mental transition you had to make? Because I think that's important too.
Yeah. You know, I believe it was Gary Keller who said in his book, and I'm not a Keller Williams person either, guys, but I like Gary Keller a lot, and I love all of the things he's taught the real estate community. He's written a lot of wonderful books. Order any of them on Amazon. But the one thing, I believe he said that what makes one man different than another isn't the baseball team that they like or the church they go to. It really comes down to the relationships that they have and the books that they read. And so one of the things that's really helped me is listening to podcasts, being a part of real estate communities, networking, and reading. I've taken in a lot of information. And what it does for you is it doesn't just provide information that you then apply. It gives you the courage as you listen to other people that have had success. It gives you the courage to then implement some of the things they took risks to implement, and you then believe more in yourself and your abilities. And so, I did in 2011, the first year we got Boomtown, we did 74 transactions. The next year we did 240. Last year we did 292. This year we're going to do 400. Next year 550. I'm shooting my heights as high as we can go. Gary says right on the title of a millionaire real estate agent, and I remember this every day because people always ask me, are you just trying to make, what do you want to do? Just make as much money as you can? Is that your number one goal? And he says it's not about the money. It's about being the best that we can be. And there's a point where you have to feed your kids and clothe your family and put a roof over your head. But a lot of us listening to this call today, you're probably meeting your bare minimum requirements of what you need to survive life. Now it's about being able to live the fullest life you can. And I believe that it's not about the money. It's about helping other people become successful, helping your agents be successful, helping your staff be successful, helping your clients have the best experience they can have. And when you start focusing on value add to both your agents, your staff, and your customers, you're going to be the most successful you've ever dreamed about. And that's what I'm experiencing right now. And anyone listening can do the very exact same thing. I mean, 3 years ago I sold 70 houses, and now I'm selling 400. That's a life changer right there.
That is, and I think it's a mind shift set, and you said it. You've been reading and just absorbing as much knowledge as possible, and you've been able to make that shift. And I know it's funny. Me and Frank talk all the time, and we look at our calendars and we go, how can I not do that work anymore? What can I do to hand it off and then work on the business? Because that is the goal. Because if you can do that, then you start thinking about what you just said. Adding value, helping others, building up others.
My transaction coordinator yesterday licensed my truck for me. There's a lot of times she'll fill it up with gas or go get it washed. We hire someone now to clean our house, and we hire someone to mow our lawn and shovel our driveway and weed our weeds. And there's all these little activities which, if you like doing it, do it. I'll wash my car sometimes because I find it to be somewhat therapeutic. But eliminate all these activities that are just time sucks. Put that time towards building your business, seeking your dreams, and spending time with your family, which are the most important things you can be doing.
Yeah. So I'm going to hop to a question. Toby, I know you've been waiting patiently, buddy. Thanks. He goes, hey, JC, looking good. Talk to me about your sales funnel. How do you weigh email versus calls versus radio funnel? He gets into, I'm trying to get a feel for how you weigh those types of avenues and how you implement this through your system.
Perfect. I love it. Know where your primary business is coming from. Track everything. So we always have put a lot of effort towards Google AdWords. That's one of our main sources of leads. We've had a lot of success with Craigslist. We've dabbled in everything. We obviously network very strongly with agents across the country to find out what they're doing and they're having success with, and then we implement it here. Not everything has worked. Most of it does generate a return on investment, but the goal isn't just to have an ROI that's a positive ROI. The goal is to have a positive ROI with leads that take the least amount of time and the least amount of effort. And there's a huge disconnect between those two ideas. So a lot of people think they're having success with a certain lead flow, but they're not realizing they're working way harder than they need to on that lead flow. They might be able to spend a little more money on leads from a different source and not to put as much effort in and as much time in. And so you really want to weigh both of those things. But we haven't had a project that was a flop. Everything has returned a positive. I really want to add to my agents, one of the value adds and one of the things that we do to retain the agents we have is to give them leads. So they're in an environment where they know they're going to average around 50 to 70 leads a month. And that really sets our team apart from everyone else in my local market. To get 70 leads every month for just being associated with my team it's like a no-brainer. And so we try to generate as much business from every portal as we can. I don't know if that answers your question. It sounded like there were multiple levels to that question, but I hope I did a good job.
Yeah, no, that did good. And I think he was just, maybe what's your, like, when you get the lead, what's the first thing you do? Do you email it? Do you call it? What's
that's good. Yeah, so this is best practices. What you should do, and I'll throw some credit to Bob Corcoran Coaching and Amanda Howard because we've been implementing their systems for quite some time now. When that lead first comes in, you need to make sure to call it in the first 5 minutes. There's a lot of statistics that fight that idea, but we've found that 9 times out of 10, if you can get them called in that first 5 minutes, you're going to get a hold of them. If you wait 10 minutes, they've moved on. You're not getting a hold of them that first day. And we talk about, if the goal isn't to just get a hold of them at some point, it's to get a hold of them right away to determine which bucket they need to go into. And depending on the bucket, that's going to tell you how much attention to give to the lead. So to break it down real quick for you, the first day they get 3 call attempts, 1 text message, and 1 voicemail. We'll try to look them up on Facebook and send them a Facebook invite. We'll start them on the drip campaign, which is geared towards getting them to respond to us so we can determine what bucket they're in. If they don't respond and we don't get a hold of them the first 24 hours, the next 13 days they're in a qualified bucket. They're going to get 7 more calls. The drips are going to drip them 7 times. They're going to get automatic emails sent to them as well. Boomtown sets all this up for you. They'll get automatic emails of homes that meet the criteria they searched when they were first on the site. If we don't get a hold of them out of all those efforts, it goes into an archive category, and they get called every 30 days by a virtual assistant. They get emailed once a month from the drip, and they're still getting emails every day from the automatic. If we do get a hold of them in those first 14 days, we put them into one of 3 categories. The first is hot, somebody ready to go right now. They're pre-qualified, they have the intent to buy, and they sign an exclusive agency or a listing agreement with us. That person's not getting prospected anymore from a VA. That person's not getting emailed anymore from a drip campaign. They're just going to be getting automatic emails. But every agent has to have an appointment set up with anyone that would be in the hot category. Next category is our nurture. It's anyone that indicates they're going to buy or sell in the next 3 to 6 months. They're getting dripped every 2 weeks with content that's valuable to their buying or selling process. So we have whole chains of emails catered towards our nurture category that's providing them value about our website, talking about lenders, talking about getting their house, ready to sell it, whatever it might be. They're getting called every 2 weeks by the agent and by the virtual assistant. So anyone buying 3 to 6 months needs called twice a month. Well, some people think that's too much. It's not too much. We've found a lot of times someone will leave the team that wasn't a very great agent, and so we'll give those leads out to everyone on the team, and we found time and time again, if those agents weren't making calls within these categories as often as we had trained them to, a lot of those people had moved on and purchased a house. We always will ask, what could we have done better to have earned your business? And 9 times out of 10, they chuckle and say, if I had heard from you, we would have bought with you, which is the worst thing you can possibly hear as an agent. If I had called you, I would have made $8,000. It took a phone call, and that's where virtual assistants came in. It was absolutely ridiculous that we were losing out on people just because we weren't making a simple phone call. The third category, Scott, is the watch category. These are going to be any leads that indicate that they're going to be buying a house from 6 months and on. They need to be called once a month. They get dripped every 5 weeks, and they're going to be getting all of these categories still get their auto email. If they're a buyer, they'll get that every day. And if they're a seller, we set up every seller lead with an automatic email specific to their subdivision so they can keep tabs on their house and stay in contact with us. So I know that was like a 4-minute answer, but that's our best practices. It's a requirement. If you're on our team, you have to do that. We sit down. We have a sales manager and accountability manager. Every week we sit down with each agent individually for 20 minutes, and we look at their CRM individually and make sure that they're treating each of the leads as we've trained them to treat them. And the last piece to this is you only want 100 active leads in the hot nurture watch category. If you have more than 100, you need to give them off to other agents because you can't successfully follow that program that I just shared with you if you have over 100 people. Most agents can't successfully do all of these things unless they have around 100 people. And you want to be giving your agents an average of around 30 to 40 leads a month. Any more than that is reaching the point of diminishing returns. Any less than that just won't be enough juice for the squeeze.
Awesome, awesome. And then Toby asked again, when you look at all your systems or products, what is the minimum ROI you're looking for when you bring something on and test it?
Great question. I don't have one. I'll just be honest. I don't have a minimum that we've expected. I think our goal is to just have a positive ROI and then determine at the end of each year how much effort had to go into converting those leads. So sorry, simple, short answer.
No, good.
So I'm just being honest.
All right, so this is a good question. What's your process when you get a lead with a phone or with an email but no phone number?
That's an awesome question. So we treat any lead that has contact information as a valid lead. So when I say 1,000 leads a month, they've either provided us phone or email or both. So if it has an email address, you can still drip them emails. You can still send them personalized emails. You can still send them listing updates. You can look them up. Boomtown has a software attached to it that allows you to do an identity lookup, which pulls all the social media sites. It runs their name if they gave you a name or an email address, cross-references it with a ton of different sites out there to try to find their phone number. So there's a lot of great content you can send them. You can add them to your Vyral Marketing list and hope that they then just reach out to you. But the best way to get a hold of someone is definitely going to be by making a phone call.
Yes. So let's go back to that. We got 8 minutes left here, Jeff. Let's talk a little bit more about 1000callsaday.com, and you know let's just let people know what the cost is right now if they sign up and how that works and
cool.
the cost compared to what return you're seeing if they work with you. Let's
so,
talk about that.
Yeah, the cost was fun. It's 1,000 calls a day. We make 1,000 calls every day, so pretty simple name, and it costs $1,000 a month. So we charge $1,000 to train a VA, hold them accountable, give them best practices, have a daily call every day, provide our client with a beginning of day and end of day report. I'll provide additional coaching if anyone wants to talk more about getting their team set up and geared up to be successful, having some of the successes that we've been having. But the fee for 1,000 calls is $1,000. Now, the caveat to that is that you have to provide us with a virtual assistant for us to train. So through my Outdesk, we've contracted a rate with them where I know the virtual assistant and the Mojo dialer, which is going to be required. Your guy's going to have all the tech. They'll provide their own headset.
The Vocalocity, right, and all the different tech stuff.
Ring Central, and then an internet connection. All in, outside of my 1,000 is $1,650. So if you take that plus our 1,000, it's $2,650 a month.
Right. That's pretty affordable.
Well, when you start talking about your average price point, and I have these calls, and if you're interested, I don't want to take up all the time today talking about it. Just go on, like I said, 100callsaday.com. On the right-hand side, there's a little link. You can schedule a one-on-one with me. I do 30-minute sales calls. Those are Monday and Thursday afternoons from noon to 3 Central. I'm happy to jump on a call with you guys. Anyone that's on this can go schedule it, not even to talk about 1,000 calls. If you just want to talk about your business, I'm available to help people. That's what it's all about for me, Scott, is paying it forward. I have a lot of people out there.
Yeah, I mean,
and we. Where it is, so.
Yeah, I mean, but we know that the underlying reason for this company started out of a necessity and a need, and the fact that it will help clients. So, what return are you actually seeing on top of, compared to the cost?
Right. So yeah, our ROI, guys. I mean, how we look at it is we have all these leads that we probably wouldn't have gotten a hold of unless the guys from our virtual assistant group, 1,000 calls a day, were able to get in touch with them. We've tracked all of the units that we've executed this year. So far to date is about 357 units. Over 20% of those closed units, which let me run the numbers for you guys. 350 times 0.2. 71 transactions this year were attached to our calling assistants in the Philippines. So they had touched those leads at some point throughout that transaction.
And what's your average price point?
Our average price point on listings is $7,000. And those aren't, I guess those weren't all listings though. So call it 5,000 is our overall average. So you want the numbers, 5,000 times 71, it's $355,000. So 2,650 times 12 is 31,800. It's 1,000% return. The same return we're getting out of you guys.
That's a pretty good ROI, Toby.
Well, and what I tell you, Toby, I mean, you think about what your average price point is, and even if this all sounds like fluff, imagine if we were able to generate one lead a month that closed, and your average price point is $5,000. You're already seeing 100% return, on the 2,650 if we got you one deal. We're making 22,000 calls a month. So I can only imagine we'll get you more than one highlighted lead every month. The other thing that's great, Scott, and what I love about our system is it's a month-to-month contract. So if we don't provide on what we promise you we're going to provide to you, just bounce out. You know, you can step out. It didn't work for your market. You know, no hard feelings, and you walk away. But I guarantee it's going to work for anyone that gives it a shot. And something to remember with the 1,000 call program, there's 2 different ways to generate business. One is to allow your virtual assistant to dive into your current database, and 2 is for the virtual assistant to prospect to new leads that you've never talked to before through their efforts with expired calls, FSBO calls, just listed, just sold. And just so you know, we've already spoken with a national attorney out of Las Vegas, Nevada, who has overseen this whole process for us to make sure we're all in compliance. We cross-reference every lead with the do not call list. We make sure that we're doing everything all on the up and up so that nobody's getting into any trouble.
Awesome. I love it. So for people that are still on right now, to take away from this call, database marketing, what's the main thing that you think overall, the big picture, or the main couple of things that the foundations that you need to be doing in order to generate real business and more repeat and referral?
God, it's simple. You got to add leads to your database. You need to capture every email address you can from every person you know. Every person you know wants an email right now every time a house hits the market in their neighborhood. Why wouldn't you? I want that on my own house. Every person you know wants an email of every house that gets listed in their neighborhood. Maybe not every day or when it goes live, but maybe once a month or twice a month, something like that. You want to capture as much information as possible with people's information, and then you want to provide them with as much information as possible that's value add for them. Then you want to follow up with those people by phone as often as you can. And you want to ask them for referrals and provide them with something of value.
That's the key. I agree with you. Getting the emails and adding value, you can't beat that. Staying in touch, staying top of mind with your database, being in front of it, being proactive, looking at the long term. These are all the things that we talk about here at Vyral, and hence where 1000callsaday.com came from, as far as helping close that loop that we've talked about, which a lot of our agents aren't making those calls, and that's what you do for them, which is great.
And this all started, Scott, and what the email had said with the invite to this webinar today, it all started because I stormed in all pissed off that Vyral wasn't producing the results that we had expected. You will not see the results you want on a mass mailing campaign. I think what's the statistic right now is 0.1% of people reply off of a mass mailer, so 1,000 people have to get it for one person to just even engage. I would say with Vyral Marketing, it's probably a pretty similar statistic. We send to 40,000 people, we probably get 40 really good leads, and then we're able to highlight 10 which agree to a face-to-face phone appointment. So the more people you can send content to, the better, the more success that you're going to have. And we were missing the boat. We weren't making the phone call. I didn't want to make the phone call. I had retired from making those phone calls. I didn't want to do it. And what's great about 1,000 calls, to tie that in with Vyral, is we'll do it for you. Your virtual assistant's going to make 1,000 calls for you every day, 22,000 calls a month. Imagine going to your next cocktail hour with your buddies or next double date that you're on, and telling somebody that you have someone in the Philippines that makes 1,000 calls for you and your team every single day. They won't even believe you. They'll laugh at you. They'll laugh at you in your face. But it's happening. I've got 3,000 calls a day right now that are generating leads to my real estate team. And then I've got somebody as well in the Dominican that's posting 150 houses for me every single day to Craigslist. Don't do these activities on your own. Outsource them to someone else. Track it so that you know that it is a positive return on investment.
Awesome, Jeff. We're pretty much out of time here, man. Thank you so much for being on. This has been awesome. I love talking to you, man. You're a great client, and I'm glad you're so successful. And I'm really happy that you've been able to leverage yourself. The Gary Keller word leverage, but get yourself out of your business, man, to where you're just working on it instead of in it. And I know that's something that we all strive for. When we're working in our own businesses, to kind of be able to oversee it and just help people make it better and better. So congratulations, man. That's amazing.
Scott, I appreciate you. Thank you for the interview, and thank you for all you guys do at Vyral. We wouldn't be where we are today without Vyral Marketing. You guys have been great. And also to the audience today, those are awesome questions. I want you guys to know I'm available for anyone, free of charge. Just go set up an appointment with me at 1000callsaday.com. On the top right corner, you can click into my calendar Monday, Thursday afternoons. It's all about paying it forward. A lot of people have done a lot to help me get to where I am today, and I want to help you guys get to where you want to be. Let's all go achieve our dreams together.
Awesome. Jeff, thanks, man.
All right.
All right, buddy.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.